So which means that we only have 2 private news channels. We think that continuing with another private news channel, add that diversity into the news into South Africa, and we think definitely there will be appetite for news channels going forward. In terms of your issue around encryption, let me explain that our issue around encryption was a pure commercial consideration. Pure commercial consideration that our subscribers need to receive the free-to-air channels. And it was one of many other provisions that we negotiated with the SABC. And the SABC decided on its own accord that they accept the provision that we included around encryption. So, and what I found interesting in your question is that nobody has ever asked us about why did we pay ENCA 500 million and SABC and NN7 almost a third of the other 2, and then make a connection that it was really about influencing encryption. There was ENCA that we were paying far, much more than the other 2, but nobody has ever questioned what influence we're buying there. So it baffles me from sometimes that just because we are negotiating with SABC and we're negotiating with AN7, people try to link it back to the encryption issue.
All right, let's get more questions.
I think there was one more question around
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. There was one more question around the ICASA probe. ICASA has not yet contacted us. We are waiting for ICASA to contact us, and we do not know the complaint that has been laid to ICASA. And what happens is that when ICASA gets a complaint, he sends it to the broadcaster. The broadcaster then is able to respond to that complaint. So up until we know what ICASA is really looking at, we can't respond to that question.
Yeah.
Hi, Loni from Bloomberg. Carvo, I just want to double check. So how much was paid to ANN7 in the end? And then maybe this is for Bob. There's a couple of things weighing on the share price of Naspers at the moment. The one was this issue, I guess, and I think you guys are resolving that today. And then there's also the issue of the employee share scheme that owns a large portion of investor stake in Tencent. So I'm just wondering, have you seen the Investec report at all? Okay. Maybe I'll talk to you about this afterwards.
Okay, yeah, one more question.
Let me talk to you about it afterwards.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So a policy recommendation from MultiChoice went to the Minister Faith Mutambi and ended up on the computer of a Gupta brother. Now that sounds pretty much like a textbook definition of corruption. How did you wait or analyze that transaction, given that it happened almost at the same time as you were signing this big deal with ANN7?
Okay, I think we can take one more because you decided to take the other one offline. Right up front.
Thank you. Jacques Breder again from Kijknet Verslag. I just want to confirm, so the 25 million that you paid to ANN7 up front, that was part of the contract that was negotiated. So I suppose you can call it a deposit or something, for lack of better terms. Did you pay these type of deposits to SABC and ENCA as well? And how do those amounts compare? And then just how do you get to that amount of 25 million? Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. How much was paid to ANN7? We have confidentiality clauses around all our contracts that we have with all our suppliers, and I'm not going to breach that confidentiality clause. I'm not going to breach that confidentiality clause because it's part of our contractual commitments to the suppliers on DSTV. I
just accept to say, as I said earlier, it represented 6 months from the September period to the 1st of April of 2016. And the 100 million within was spread evenly over the balance of the contract period. So it was definitely, if you work it out, it's actually 6 months payment of that 25 million spread over 6 months. Sorry.
No, but the annual fee was increased to 141 million and not 100 million.
There was a 25 million rand prepayment and a 141 million rand per annum.
But you started off, sorry, can I answer that? We started off with 100 million. That was on the table. That was Amendment 3. Then we went to Amendment 4. Amendment 4 was to pay 125 million under the balance of the contract. And then the negotiations were, would we consider paying, as MultiChoice, 25 million up front and then only start the spreading of the 100 million 6 months later? So if you work it out, you take 29, I think it's 29 months of 100 million, you'll find 41,580,000 or something. So it's 100 million that was there, plus the 41 million in addition.
Yeah.
I hope it answers your question.
Yeah. On the policy recommendations to Mutambi, remember the policy recommendations that were sent to Mutambi had nothing to do with encryption. They were all about proclamation. It was as a result of government having decided to split the Department of Communications into two, which was Department of Communication and Department of Telecoms and Postal Services, which to us was like trying to unscramble a scrambled egg. And the whole industry was confused as to what is government doing because we are in a converged environment. And that is why, and that's what prompted the submissions that were made. The submissions that were made were solely as to try to say to government, please provide us clarity and certainty in terms of which ministry is fully in control of broadcasting, which ministry is fully in control of telecommunication and postal services. Those were the submissions that were made to Minister Mutambi.
Yeah. Okay, another round, yes, sir.
I think there was one more question around whether we've also paid other channels a prepayment, and maybe Calvo, you can answer that as well.
Yes, there were payments that were made to other channels, the SABC in particular. We have made similar payments before, and it's almost in the similar ballpark.
Okay.
Okay, that's Bennett from the New Age. Let us assume that the external party comes chip in, the Viceroy Research of this world. They conduct the same investigation. Because you are presenting an internal investigation now, do you think that the third party were presenting the same findings that you are telling us today?
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
Nicholas Barr from ENCA. Early on in this briefing, you let the cat out the bag that you pay my channel 500 million rand a year. Why are you using the confidentiality clause when we ask you how much you're paying ANN7? Yeah. Furthermore, you said that you entered into this contract when you did not understand the full extent of state capture. Are you admitting that you're a party to state capture, and what are you doing about it besides saying that you'll streamline your systems and ensure it won't happen again?
Okay, third question. Okay.
Yeah, so...
just the third question, yeah.
Yolandi Groenewald from Fin24. Will you share the findings of the audit firm and the investigations by Weber Wenzel with the public?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, maybe I can answer the first question around are we comfortable that somebody else would find the same conclusions? And I think for us at Naspers, it's been really crucial to make sure that we think that the process that has been followed was thorough, and we're comfortable that it follows the governance, and we are. And I sit here and I know that investigation was done properly by people with an excellent reputation, and they've done it as thorough as they can. So I am comfortable with the conclusions from that, and we stand by them.
Thanks, Bob. On the issue around that I've said that we're paying ENCA 500 million, I don't think you heard me properly. I said that the amounts that we're paying to ENCA were going to the region of 500 million rand. I didn't say 500 million rand exactly. So
then in the region of
yeah,
what you're paying ENCA.
That's why I'm not saying...
Let's talk ballpark figures. AN7, how much?
All I can say is above 100 million. Yes. So do we admit that we are a part of state capture? No. This is a purely commercial discussion that happened. They've provided a service to us, which you can see when you get home every day, and there is no state capture here.
And there was a third question about whether it will be made available.
No. So on the last question around will we share the report, no, we are not going to share the report because the investigation involved going through a number of contracts which are commercially sensitive, and we will not be sharing the report.
If I may add to it, and Don, feel free to complement.
I will do, yes.
But there are a number of areas where we looked at commercial contracts, other commercial contracts, payments, etc., that were just bound by confidentiality and by commercial considerations. I think what we are doing is we're sharing all the findings that came out of the Audit and Risk Committee's work, and we're sharing the recommendations here with you. And we're also talking about the actions that will be taken. So we're sharing the key points that come from that in full with you.
I would like to just support that and say that whatever's been reported by Calvo in his presentation, the Audit and Risk Committee are ad idem with those particular reports and what the conclusions were. And we don't feel it's necessary. This was an internal report carried out by independent non-executive directors with support of external experts where need be, plus the support of our own internal audit team. And I'm confident that what we've achieved and what's been reported today is in fact factual, and it's to the point, and a robust process has been undertaken in a very short space of time.
Can we take a final round of questions? Yeah? Okay. Yes, ma'am. At the back. Okay, we can go first.
Hi, Jan Vermeulen from My Broadband. Thank you. So this is just to circle back to the issue with the lobbying of Minister Faith Mutambi, and in particular the report back that the lobbying didn't affect the payments and vice versa. But the concern was never that. The concern was that the lobbying was about encryption and was about the SABC contract, not necessarily the ANN7 contract. So, to ask the question straight up, did you lobby to get Faith Mutambi as Minister of Communications so that you could influence the situation around encryption in South Africa? Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I was just wondering when we say mistakes were made, could we maybe just expand a bit on what exactly those mistakes were?
Okay, and our third question. Okay, right up front.
Philip from the Mail and Guardian again. I may have missed it earlier. Where is Mr. Patel at the moment? What is he doing with his time? And then in addition, if I understood your statement correctly, the mistakes made were yours. The mistakes made were those of MultiChoice. Would you then say it is fair to interpret that you are penalizing ANN7 by cancelling their contract or not renewing their contract for mistakes that MultiChoice made?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And maybe I should address the question on IMTIAS. So you may know that IMTIA's responsibility is not for MultiChoice South Africa. That is Calvo's responsibility. That's why he is here. IMTIA is responsible for the entire video entertainment business, including our Showmax business and our business in Africa. And that's where he spent a good deal of his time. So Calvo is the relevant person for MultiChoice South Africa. I'm the relevant person from Naspers to ask questions to.
Yeah. The question that was raised around whether we lobbied for Faith Mutambi, no, we don't lobby for anybody to become anybody in government. We work with whoever that is being appointed. That's the answer. On the issue of mistakes were made, the mistakes that we highlighted here, if you look at them, and I would like to read them to you, we said failure to do a due diligence around ANN7. The secondly is that when concerns were raised around ANN7, we did not bring them to the attention of the board, which we should have brought them to the attention of the board, and we could have done our communication much better. In saying that we are punishing ANN7, if you look at the issues that are raised, is that among the issues is that there were concerns around ANN7, and we did not act on those concerns that were raised around ANN7, and the board has now considered the outcome of this investigation and took a decision that they will not be renewing N7's contract.
All right, let's just have one more, because you had your hand up. Yeah, no, you want to hear.
Okay. Thank you. So you say that you made mistakes in how you lobby and that you're overhauling that. Could you share the mistakes and how you're overhauling? Thank you.
Yeah. The only issue around lobbying that we feel could be improved upon is the issue around we have no guidelines around as a company around how you lobby and so forth. And what we are saying and what the board and management have decided to do is that let's develop guidelines so that there is strict way of doing things with regards to lobbying of government going forward. And that's how we're addressing that issue.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the formalities. A big thank you to our panel as well for being here and answering your questions and for your statements. As the panelists leave us, just to the members of the media, if you want to do any follow-up questions, any interview requests, please can you approach Mariki? Can you? Yeah, there's Mariki. And we've got Jackie. Is Jackie here as well? Yeah.
All right, there you have it. MultiChoice essentially admitting to their mistakes but taking ANN7 off of their services. Listening in to that briefing, we heard Calvo Mawela, the MultiChoice CEO, saying that they'll be launching a new black-owned news TV station once the ANN7 contract runs out. That bidding process for the new TV station will be open shortly, and the TV channel, he says, must be black-owned and have no political affiliation. So a lot of questions from the media listening in there, asking about their processes and the allegations of improper relationships and payments in procuring ANN7 for the DSTV bouquet. So we'll have more for you on this and our day's top stories coming up with Kirshni at the top of the hour. From me, it's bye-bye.
Well, today we discuss the general practitioner or GP.
So the quality of the doctors coming through our medical schools is excellent.
Your GP is your family doctor, your point of care.
Who determines how much a consultation fee should be?
We set up networks.